Why the Roman Empire fell is not an easy question to answer. And I'm going to just discuss a couple of things with you here. And then I've also provided other resources to help you maybe get your head around this very, very complicated and long process. So I want to talk about three reasons here that the Roman Empire stumbled and ultimately fell. One was the changing character of the army. Um, so one of the things that happened here was that, remember how huge the empire was, and there were troops from distant provinces. So Germans, for examples, and others, um, that and the army was supposed to be keeping in check. But when you had troops from all over the place, as in Germany, for example, there was no loyalty to Rome. There was more loyalty to where their particular part of the empire. The army helped choose the emperor, so there were many non-Roman emperors. There were African, Syrian, Arab, which again isn't necessarily bad, but did bring change. Um, that often will collapse any type of empire. There were also external threats, so from different regions, from the Huns and the Goths, for example, and also many of the provinces were really getting no help from Rome in any kind of way. So they set up their own states, so they set up their own armies, they set up their own economic systems. And then finally, economics throughout the empire, taxes increased, the money was devalued, trade was impossible because of the threat of war, and so large sums of money were going to the army. So just sort of a nice, confusing mess of different things happening at one time. But total collapse of the empire was prevented by two emperors. Emperor Diocletian, who was emperor from 284 to 305. In 286, Diocletian divided the Roman Empire into the east and west parts. Diocletian ruled the west part, Maximian ruled the east part. And he created what is now known as the Edict of Diocletian. Diocletian was very organized, and he believed the only way to save the empire was through strict controls and regulations. And so the Edict of Diocletian imposed controls over all aspects of Roman life. It fixed prices on goods and wages, and it set up a bureaucracy to collect taxes. So this was a very organized system that did actually work. But these two emperors abdicated in 305, which led the way for Emperor Constantine. In 305, after the abdication, Constantine and Gaius ruled as joint emperors. And then in 306, sorry, that date is wrong, from 306 to 337, Constantine was the sole emperor of the empire. So in 313, the Edict of Milan was passed, and it gave Christians religious freedom. And we talked about this in the beginning of Christianity lecture, where this particular edict demanded religious tolerance. So Christians were given the freedom of religion at this point. However, Christianity would not become this official religion of the Roman Empire until like 80 years later. In 330, Constantine founded Constantinople, and it was dedicated as the new capital of the Roman Empire. And in the next unit, we will learn a lot about Constantinople, or Byzantium, as it was also known, and what went on there. And then finally, in 337, Constantine is baptized as a Christian on his deathbed. So these two emperors, Diocletian and Constantine, held off the full collapse of the Roman Empire for many years. And as you'll see in the other links attached in the unit, you'll find more about how other theories about why the empire collapsed.